who is the one person, and it can be a silly person, it can be a dead person, it can be someone who's alive, it can be fictional, it can be your favourite superhero. Who would you like to draft into Keir Starmer's first cabinet, and in what role?
I'd go for Denis Healy. I know it's not very creative, but he was very tough, had an amazingly broad intellect. He was Defence Secretary, Chancellor of the Exchequer. So I would have him as Deputy Prime Minister to provide wise, tough advice for difficult times.
Excellent choice.
Yes, I think we could all agree that fought in the war to quite a.
He was a beachmaster at Anzio. I only met him once. He once came to lunch with Alistair Darling, and he sang lots of songs from the war.
Okay, so what's the one issue you think isn't getting as much coverage in the media or attention from Labour or anyone else as it should have?
Skills. I'm sorry to be boring, but this country is not going to get a rise in living standards unless our working population becomes more skilled. And a lot of this is to do with things like further education, which politicians find boring because they didn't really experience further education. They generally went to Oxbridge or Edinburgh or somewhere. And if you don't tackle the issue of skills in this country, we will continue to underperform.
Yeah, and every government says that it's important to them, and then they never actually. Yeah, it's actually the budget for it versus schools has sunk by 25%.
Yes, and they claim to have a skills strategy. It doesn't add up, and it requires spending money. It requires prioritization, and it's just never prioritized.
I remember a couple of years ago, I hosted this brilliant all-day conference all about skills, and what was so interesting is that you're so right, Nick. Politicians spend a lot of time talking about schools and universities, but colleges are so important. Colleges are really the place where so much can happen, and they are such a sort of Cinderella kind of part of the sort of education land. They're not give even the sort of respect of visits and attention and time, and I was really struck by that, actually.
And we relied on the Polish taxpayer for far too long to train our workforce, and we can't do that any longer.
Okay, and final question to you, Nick. What's the one test you'd set Labour to demonstrate that they're, really ready to change Britain for the better?
My test would be, can they multitask? Can Keir Starmer multitask? Because being in government is really quite hard. You just have to deal with so much, most of which is completely unexpected, and much of it is really quite tedious. And they've got to do that whilst also sticking to the plan. If they junk the plan because they can't multitask, they will end up achieving nothing.